So you want to know how to remove your drive clutch on your Club Car DS or carryall. That's what I'm going to show you here today. I have an old KF82 motor here with a crank in it and a drive clutch mounted on it. It's clamped to these milk crates, and I have a crowbar in here to hold the crank in place as we wrench on it. The first question to ask is, what direction do I turn the drive clutch bolt to get it out? For obvious reasons, you'll want to determine this before you start cranking on it, especially if you're using an air impact gun. Too much power and the bolt could snap off and turn your simple clutch repair or replacement into more work than you bargained for. So if you have a 1984 to 1996 gas-powered Club Car DS, golf cart, or carryall, your motor will spin counterclockwise at the clutch. These are the three motors that are used during those years. From 1984 to 1991, you will have a KF82 flathead, and from 1992 to 1996, you'll have an FE290 or an FE350. All three of these motors spin counterclockwise at the clutch, and the center bolt that holds the clutch in place is standard thread. You know, your lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. If you have a 1997 to 2014 DS or carryall, you'll have a clockwise spinning FE290 or FE350. And if you have an XRT, you may have an FE400 in it. These motors all spin clockwise at the clutch, and the center bolt that holds the drive clutch onto these motors is reverse threaded, so in order to remove the bolt, you'll crank it clockwise. If you have a 1988 and up cart, it will have this style drive clutch. In order to remove the drive clutch once the bolt is out, you'll use this tool. Here's how I do it. Okay, so I got this little mock-up here to show you how this works. This is just some parts I had laying around. I've got an old KF82 motor here. I've got a crank inside it. I went ahead and mounted the clutch onto the crank the way it would be on the cart. It's mounted on here. So I'm just going to show you how this works. This nut here is a 14 millimeter. So you get I got a 14 millimeter socket, impact socket. I'm going to put this on here and take it off. And this being a KF82 motor, it's a counterclockwise motor. The bolt is going to be a standard thread, so it's going to come off counterclockwise like any regular bolt. I'm just going to turn this. I have a crowbar in here to hold the crank in place so that it doesn't. There we go. To make sure that I can get the bolt off. So I'm going to go ahead and put the socket on the impact gun. First, we'll take the bolt out. Okay, there's the bolt. It comes out. You can see it only has threads in the end because it threads into the crankshaft. It doesn't thread into the clutch. It threads into the crankshaft back here on the motor, and that's where it threads in. So now we got that out. Just lay that right there. So the clutch is on here. I impacted it on here to make sure that it's on the way it would be on any golf cart, so it should be. This is the tool that you use. Basically the threads are up here because you use these threads. There's threads right here where my finger is, and these threads go in there, and it pushes, the tool goes down into here and threads into the clutch, so that when you turn it, the pin pushes on the crank and pops the clutch off this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on here, on these threads. Just a good idea. Get some oil on those. And then we're going to thread the tool in with your finger until you can't. Okay, there, it's all the way. It's touching the crank now. And to take this off, it's clockwise because you're just. And it's the same for no matter what motor you have. This tool works the same way. It's standard thread. So you turn clockwise to put it in there. It's going to push toward the crankshaft and pop this clutch right off. Now this is a 16 millimeter. This is a 16 millimeter socket. So that goes on here. Turn that. Put the 16 millimeter socket on. And we're only going to give it just a couple quick raps of the gun, like whoop, 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 until it pops off. There's no need to put the gun on here and just lay on it, because there's a possibility you might overdo it. So usually I just hit it with a few quick raps of the gun, and it just pops off. We're going clockwise here. That's all it took. It pops off just like that. You can see how this works. If you look at this, I'm just going to hold this up here. I'm going to thread the tool in by hand and watch this as I do that. See how you can see it start to protrude out? That's basically the tool is pushing the clutch off. It goes down in this hole. This tool is smaller than the hole. Like, it's not going to damage these threads. It's made to go in past the threads and hit up against the blind hole at the crank. So it goes in there. And basically, you just run it down until it just pops it off.
Now, if you have a 1984 to 1987 gas club car and you have this style drive clutch, you'll need to make a tool using a hardened steel rod and a standard thread grade 8 bolt. Here are the specs for that. You'll then insert the rod down into the clutch center hole and then follow it with that grade 8 bolt. Same procedure as with the newer clutches. Just hit it with a few quick raps of the air gun, and this clutch will also pop off just like the newer one. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more of my pro tips, and thanks for watching.